Welcome to P3, I'm Ronald Mark. This is a show that explores the fascinating people, places, and perspectives that make up our world. On today's show, did you know that bees are gamblers? They'll forfeit the sure thing for the possibility of a jackpot. We explored this on the recent trip to Israel. This is P3. Studies led by Dr. Sharoni Shafir of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem have proven that bees are some of the best decision makers, and yet they resort to irrational behavior at times. I had a chance to find out why. Professor, I'm in the middle of beehives. You are one of the most interesting people I've met because you actually get to work in a beehive-like structure.
That's right.
You love bees. What is the attraction, the idea about the bee that just interests you so much?
Well, I think there's two things about bees. For one thing, about a third of our diet is based on bees.
Whoa.
People don't realize, but if I bring this, if I open this hive and took out honey, of course everybody knows bees have honey.
Yeah.
But if I took out an avocado or an apple, people say, what does that have to do with bees? And
Yeah.
of course, and if you ask people, has a bee ever seen this apple? They wouldn't know, many people. But of course, this apple is here because of bees, because she visited the flower and pollinated, and then you get a flower, and then a fruit.
Yeah.
And the same with the avocado. The tree blooms, there's lots of fruit, a lot of flowers. If the bees visit, you get fruit. If not, you get nothing. So
Wow.
it's an all or none thing.
They're essential.
Yes.
Yeah.
For many crops, they're essential. For other crops, they just give you a better crop, like strawberry. You can get strawberries without bees because of wind pollination, but you get much better fruit with them. So, and this is about a third of our diet. Especially the richer world that eats more fruits, vegetables, we're very much dependent on bees. And if you're a carnivore and you say, well, I don't eat fruits and vegetables that much, the cows are fed alfalfa that you need seeds to grow.
There's the connection with bees
and
again.
you need pollination to get alfalfa. So bees are estimated to be about a third of our diet.
Wow.
And that's why there's such a scare now with the disappearing of bees and dying of bees and all over the world. What's going to happen to our food production? Prices are going to go up, malnutrition, all these kind of problems can pop up. So that's one thing why bees are so essential just for us.
For food, right?
For food, right, which is quite basic. But then also just for knowledge, bees have turned out to be a really good model for understanding decision making.
Okay, this is really fascinating to me because just before we got on here, you talked about this robot that you built to kind of harness bee decision making. And tell me the story about the bee as the gambling bee, the guy who goes to Vegas. Tell me this about this bee.
Right, so why are you interested whether bees like to gamble? Because the avocado tree, say, has thousands of flowers. Some you'd find more nectar in, some you'd find less. It's a gamble. Other crops might be more consistent, stable. And the bee, when she leaves the hive, she can fly a kilometer, 2 or 3 over the whole radius here and choose where she wants to go to. And so if she likes to gamble, she's going to go to flowers that are more variable.
Okay, like high yield kind of nectar.
Or sometimes high, sometimes low, it's a gamble. But if she's risk averse, she doesn't like to gamble, she's going to go to crops where she knows what she's going to get.
Okay.
And this is very much like people that have to decide if you're going to go to the restaurant you know, or you're going to gamble and go to a restaurant you don't know, or other kind of decisions, daily decisions.
But you actually made a machine to kind of track this.
So we try to understand the bee. So let's pick up a bee.
Okay.
So here we have them licking honey. They have a very long tongue. They can lick the honey. And of course, bees like honey. They produce honey for themselves, not for us.
Okay.
So I want to know the bee, do you like to gamble? How do you do that? You have to ask her. And of course, you need to have some kind of system that you can ask her and relate to her.
Okay.
So with people, you can give them a survey and say, you have 80% of winning $4 or 100% of winning $3. What do you prefer?
Right.
And people say that. With bees, we cannot do that. So we have to let them experience the choice, and we do it not through description-based choice, but not through description-based, but through experience-based choice.
Okay.
So we've given them many repetitions, and that's what the robot does. The bee is harnessed in place, so she can't move, but she can move her head and her antennae, and they smell. And then we give her from one side one odor, and after 2 seconds, a drop of sugar. So she associates that odor from the right with
Okay.
that drop of sugar.
Right.
After a few minutes, she gets another odor from the left associated with a different reward, say sometimes high, sometimes low. So one side is always constant medium concentration, and the other one is high or low. So you
Okay,
can
so
think
it's kind of like Pavlov's dog. You're
exactly.
conditioning them
Exactly.
to
So you have to
respond.
learn.
Okay.
And then ask her, okay, now you have both odors. Which one do you choose? And she moves her head to one side or the other and sticks out her tongue, which is how she, like Pavlov's dog would salivate.
Yeah.
She sticks out her tongue, says, I want this one. And then we record, her choices. And what we find doing that is that, for one thing, they're similar to humans under similar conditions, but different than if I ask you in a description-based. This actually work of colleagues of mine, like Ido Erev and others who do decision-making, behavioral economics in humans. And the finding of the latest years is that when you ask people something in writing, where it's described, or when you actually have them experience it, and with people don't have to tie them down, but you give them $10 to show up to an experiment, and they're in front of the computer, and they press left or right, like the bees do. And then you find the exact opposite kind of decisions than when you give it to them in writing. Because psychologically it's different.
So is the bee a gambler?
And so the bee is very much like the people under those conditions where it's experienced. And that's why she's becoming a model to understanding decisions also of people under experience-based things, like choosing a restaurant, choosing other things that you experience for life.
So
they don't like to gamble.
They don't.
No.
So they say, I'd rather get the sure thing, even if it's a less yield, not as sweet, than maybe possibly getting the jackpot sugar daddy.
Right. Now it depends, of course, how much. If the gamble is very, if the average of the gamble is very high, at some point you might like to also gamble. But giving the same amount on average, she prefers not to gamble.
More on the intelligence of bees when P3 returns.